If you've ever felt motivated to lose weight, changed everything in your pantry, signed up for a gym, maybe even joined a program, and then found yourself a few days later, maybe even a few weeks, maybe it's months, just absolutely hating the process and having no motivation at all to keep going, and that leads to you giving up and then stop starting on your goals all the time, then this video is for you, so keep listening. My name is Chelsea, and I lost 40 pounds on a plant-based diet, and I've kept that off now for more than 6 years. Something that's really important to understand is that I have been through depression in that time. I've had anxiety, I've been on meds, I've had like so many things that happen in my life. My husband has ended up being in a wheelchair in that time. And I can tell you right now that my motivation has had teeny tiny blips, but for the most part, there has been almost zero. So something has sustained me longer than that. And this is a huge contrast to how I used to diet, which was constantly looking for motivation, whereas how I achieve my goals now, which is finding something that is going to sustain me even when I don't. So we're going to talk about the 3 Ds of achieving your goals. This is a 3-step process, and we're going to make this fun. So we're going to base this off of the 3 Ds of apparition from Wilkie Tycross, who is from Harry Potter. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, then you're going to love this. And if you don't know what apparition is, it's basically twirling on the spot and thinking about where you want to go and then instantly getting there. So who wouldn't want that when it comes to weight loss? Like, you just twirl in a circle and then you're 30 pounds down. We can't do that, but we can do the next best thing. Step number 1 is to decide your destination. This is very different from a goal, because instead of thinking of wanting to lose 30 pounds or wanting to lose 60 pounds or wanting to have like 6-pack abs to go on holiday, we're instead going to decide on an identity-based change. And James Clear talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits, where instead of thinking about what the outcome is, which would be losing 30 pounds, instead think about who do I need to become in order for that to be a byproduct. So if you're going to lose 30 pounds, maybe that's I need to become someone who is very, very healthy, who eats really, really healthy. Maybe if you're going to do 5 pull-ups, you need to just become someone who's organized in order for you to get to the gym every single day, or someone who is disciplined. Essentially, we flip goal setting from what you want to achieve to who do you want to become. And this is going to be really important because it's going to allow you to let go of old behaviors that don't serve who you want to be, and to be able to do that in an empowered way rather than feeling like you're giving up something all the time, because those are part of your old life as opposed to being just an obstacle in reaching your goal. Most of this is about who do you want to be in the future versus what do you want to achieve in the future. And this is really just a hero arc that everyone goes through if they are going to sustain any kind of major life changes, like losing weight and then actually keeping it off. So I always think about Frodo and his hero arc, where he kind of reluctantly leaves the Shire. He doesn't really have like this desire for adventure, but he, along that journey of leaving the Shire and then throwing the ring into Mount Doom, or really Sam helps him, he becomes this entirely new person. He becomes the person who is able to keep going even when it feels difficult, and says, I'm going to take the ring even though it's not his responsibility. He becomes the person who is able to let go of old friendships or have the need to be protected, and instead does this on his own. And so the result that he gets in the end is not because he had the goal, it's because of who he became along the journey. Think about the difference between someone who goes vegan for ethical reasons versus someone who is just trying to eat more plant-based. One is about achieving an outcome, just eating more plant-based, but one is about identity. So the person who makes that identity shift, it's very easy for them to stay consistent because it's now going to be congruent with who they are and how they see themselves. Deciding who you want to be and realizing that that is going to cost you your old identity, that you're going to have to become someone new, someone empowered, someone who doesn't make any excuses, someone who gets up after failure, someone who takes radical responsibility for your life, allows you to count the real cost of change. And when you're faced with obstacles, which we're going to talk about later, it's much easier for you to bypass those or to not give in to those obstacles, or at least keep fighting, because you understand that they are part of the process of change rather than just like an inconvenience to your goal. Ask yourself right now, am I the hero of my story? Which means that I'm like Captain America and I say, I can do this all day even when I'm beaten down. Am I the victim of my story, where as soon as something difficult comes along, the reason that I can't lose weight is my metabolism, or it's my age, or it's someone else, something outside of myself that is stopping me and holding me back? I mean, those things can be factors, but the hero of their story always will see radical responsibility as the way forward, and they don't make excuses that are going to stop them from moving towards that goal. This is you making a decision that you want to change because of who it makes you along the way, not because of just the outcome that you're going to get. The second step is to have determination to keep going. Now that you've decided the direction that you want to go, who you want to become, and the goal is just the outcome of that, we want to figure out, well, what do I need to do in order to continue going even when my motivation is completely gone, which it will be a lot of the time. If you're going to really change, then you need to right now accept that the reason that heroes or outliers, anyone who's achieving something amazing, the reason that those people are rare is that we are hardwired to choose the path of least resistance, to be lazy, to be comfortable, and to avoid pain. So if you're not consistently following through and doing the difficult things that you say that you're going to do, like eating vegetables over donuts, then you need to accept that you are a baby in that process and that you need to learn to do difficult things, and that is going to take time, and you're going to need to take baby steps because you're just not good at it yet. You need to accept that if you are not able to keep big commitments to yourself, aka discipline, like going to the gym for the last year or eating really healthy so that you lost the weight and then kept it off, if you're not consistently able to do those big commitments and keep them, then you're going to need to prove to yourself that you can keep the small ones in order to build trust and build a habit of keeping commitments. You can't start with the big stuff, you have to make it smaller first. And what happens if you don't do this is that you will set big goals and then you will continually fuel your identity that you can't keep them because you don't. You will prove that you have an identity of someone who doesn't keep commitments to themselves, and you'll prove to yourself that you're a continual failure. And I've done this cycle so many times. And this is probably my biggest gripe with like motivational content online, is that we can look at people who are doing really difficult things, who are running marathons, who are getting up at 5 a.m. every day, and they'll talk about their routines, and they'll talk about motivation, they'll talk about discipline. And then we think that the determination that they have, if we in the moment, because we feel it too, we have these bursts of motivation. When we feel that motivation, we feel that determination, and we feel the pain of not taking action, we can do the things for a short period of time. But what we don't understand about people who do this consistently, who have consistent discipline, is that they're able to do it even when they don't feel that strongly. They're able to make themselves do it when all they want to do is sit on the couch and watch Netflix. But they didn't get where they are today because of a feeling of motivation. They got where they are today because they were able to develop discipline in the small things, and then they were able to build on that over time, so that now if they say that they're going to do something big and huge and amazing and scary, like a triathlon or getting lean or any of these kind of different things, they're able to do it and they know that they will achieve it because they're able to keep going regardless of how they feel. But you're not there yet. The feelings are freaking irrelevant. The only thing that matters is that you actually follow through and do it. And for that, you need evidence, and you need habits, and you need repetition. And habits really are the drivers of the outcomes of our lives. What you do today and what you do consistently is going to become what you have next year. And you right here, like yes, you right now, today, you have habits. The question is whether those habits are serving you being who you decided that you want to be with your destination. I like to think about habits almost like training a dog. You have a dog and you're wanting to teach it to sit. So you make it sit, or you get it to sit. Maybe it doesn't really realize that that's the positive thing, and then you give it a little reward. And then over time, you can say sit to the dog, and because it knows from enough repetition and enough reward that that's a positive thing to do, it will do it on command. And our brains work the same way. So the reason that you do whatever behaviors or patterns of habits that you have right now, whether that is getting takeout on a weekend, drinking socially, or saying yes to the donut when your mother-in-law gives it to you, anything that you currently do that is a default behavior is because your brain thinks that it's a positive thing for you to do. So all we need to do to change our behaviors is to rewire the 4-step habit sequence that our brains use to create new behaviors. And so habit formation follows this 4-step process where we have a trigger or a cue, a craving, and a response, and then a reward. Always. And this comes from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, as well. So if you want to make positive behaviors more likely, then have more cues to do those things. And that could look like having fruit on your counter, ready to eat. It could look like removing processed foods from your house so that you don't see them and then want to eat them. It could look like spending time with people who eat the way that you want to eat, so that you can see that they're eating those foods, and then that feels like it's satisfying and attractive, and you get that cue to want to do it yourself. It can look like not being too hungry, so that you don't have that cue of being really, really super hungry and then quickly wanting to go through a drive-through. The second piece of this is the craving. So you have that initial light bulb moment that starts everything off, the trigger, and then the craving is, oh, I want that thing. And so what we want to do is we want to make it more enticing, so we get more of a craving for something that is positive, like eating a healthy salad. If you make that look good, if you have a beautiful bowl, if you create recipes that you actually enjoy, listening to your favorite music or a podcast while you're at the gym or while you're walking. But also in the same sense, if you're going to buy processed food, if you're going to have those things in your environment, then maybe don't buy like your favorite flavor of chips. Maybe buy the flavor of chips if you're going to have that for other people that you don't actually really like. The third and I think most important part of the habit building process is the response. This is where you actually do the thing. Eat the donuts or eat the broccoli. So if we work on the fact that people are hardwired to choose the path of least resistance and that we always want more pleasure, we just have to put barriers in between our bad behaviors, and we have to remove obstacles for our good behaviors to make the inputs much, much easier. Rather than having a goal to change every single thing all at once and be completely perfect, which is going to set you up for failure, unless you have a lot of commitment devices and a lot of things that hold you to that, like accountability, just make a goal to eat 1 pound of vegetables every single day. Just have like a tiny goal to walk through the gym doors rather than doing a full workout. It's a tiny goal that can build trust in yourself that when you do it, even when you don't want to, you're more likely to be able to do something much harder later on because you're now building evidence that you're the kind of person that keeps commitments to yourself. Even if that is just literally microwaving a potato and eating that before you go out, even if you stuff your face later, even if you end up having a binge, if you said, hey, I'm going to microwave a potato first so that I feel less hungry, so that I have less of the cue to overeat, you're going to directionally change your behavior and make progress over time because you're doing something better than where you were. And remember, you're a baby in this, so you have to start small. You have to accept that there's lots of failure, there's lots of learning, so you have to remove the need for motivation as much as possible, and this is the best place to do it in the response stage of a habit build. And I really don't have a lot of processed food in my environment because it's much harder for me to stay consistent if I'm opening the fridge and there's chocolate chip cookies or there's cake there. The other day I was walking with my family and I was thinking, you know what, like maybe we'll go to this gelato place and maybe they'll get some gelato. And I thought, you know what, that's going to be so hard for me to respond in the way that I want to if I'm there with them and I'm seeing them actually eating gelato. So I was like, you know what, I don't even want to walk in the door. I don't even want to go there. Let's go home and do something else. Do you see how I'm making it easier for myself to respond the way I want to rather than relying on motivation when I'm there? The last bit of habit building is the reward that we get from the process. But I want to bring that into the third step of not needing motivation. We're going to tie that in, and that is deliberation. And that's making the journey itself the reward. Because if you think about deciding who you want to be, deciding to be the hero of your story, it's not about achieving the outcome, it's about who you are in the process. We need to make the process itself rewarding, not just the goal. Otherwise, you're not going to be motivated. You're actually going to be demotivated to keep going. So you'll never achieve the goals. And so this is where you reward the process of those little things that you're doing along the way, of the habits that you're building. You reward them in the moment. You reward them day to day. You want to have millions of micro rewards day to day, rather than just some kind of macro reward at the end where you lose 30 pounds and then we're like, yay, amazing, you achieved your goal. That's not the way that you make the process actually feel like you can continue doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to reward the effort, not the outcomes. So if you eat broccoli and that felt really, really difficult for you, to have a side of that with your burger instead of fries, you reward that. Self high five. You see that as a win. You say good job to yourself. You reward overcoming obstacles no matter how small. If it was really difficult for you to get to the gym and do one little thing, but you actually got there and you did one little thing, then you reward that in your mind. You're like, well done, that's amazing. And I'm gonna just break the fourth wall right here, right now and say that this is still really difficult for me. We normally have a pattern of behavior for our entire lives where if we don't achieve everything we want, we set these massive goals that need a ton of discipline that we don't have, right? Even if we're super motivated, we don't have that discipline and build it yet. And then we set all this, we can't achieve it, and we feel like absolute crap. We beat ourselves up. I'm in a new place right now. This is my new house. The lighting is different to my old house. I haven't filmed YouTube videos in a while. I've done so many takes with this video and my outline took me like 2-3 hours to write. Even as I'm sitting here filming this, I'm like, how did that take you 2-3 hours? This is kind of crap. It's 3 o'clock, my kids are gonna come home from school any minute, and I feel like I've achieved nothing today. When I stop filming this video, my brain is going to say, you piece of crap, why are you not good enough? Why do you suck so bad? Why is your content worse than anyone else, and who are you even kidding? So unproductive, and your whole day's a waste. Like, that's what my brain is gonna start saying to me. But this is where deliberation comes in. I know and I have an expectation that feeling is part of the process, and that becoming a YouTuber, not hitting 2,000 subscribers or anything like that, but becoming a YouTuber, becoming someone who films consistently, those feelings are part of the process. And that when I feel those things, I actually know that I'm in a positive arena, because the only people who feel those things are the people who consistently make content. So part of rewarding the process is rewarding the feelings of struggle along the way, because they are the evidence and the proof that you are on the right journey. So if it feels difficult and hard, and if you're feeling like you don't have motivation, you're feeling like you're not good enough, you can actually start to rewire your brain to see those things as positive, because they're an indication that you are struggling along the journey of change. And that's kind of beautiful. This is really just like romanticizing the struggle. And here's the kicker with this: it's not going to feel worth it most of the time. Even when you think about achieving that big goal, when you think about in the moment, the choice between being 30 pounds down or eating the donut right here, right now, this feels really, really good, it's not going to feel worth it. But if you can think about this in that the struggle of saying no, that struggle in and of itself is worth it because of who it makes me along the way, that is much more motivating, and it's much more doable, because it allows you to have meaningful struggle, which has worth in the moment itself, because it is part of who you are today, not just who you'll be in the future. And this has been huge for me, not just in my weight loss, but in everything else that I'm trying to achieve, is that the obstacles themselves feel worthwhile, because they are there to help me to grow. I don't see these things as unlucky and unfair. I see them as part of my hero arc. The hero doesn't say, it's hard, therefore I quit. The hero says, it's hard, and this is how I level up. There's this quote that I love from Mark Manson, who wrote the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. And he says, a happy life is not a life without struggle. It's a life of meaningful struggle. And the middle is always going to feel messy. The process is always going to feel difficult. But if you reward the inputs, the tiny day-to-day habits that you are doing, and I have many, many videos where I talk about what those are. If you reward them in the moment, amazing, good job. But you also romanticize and reward the struggle itself, then you don't need motivation on your journey. And you will absolutely suck at this at the beginning. And it's not going to feel good, and it's going to feel terrible. But if you keep going and you keep trying and you do everything that you need to in order to make this as easy, as obvious, as satisfying, and as tiny as possible, and do absolutely everything you need to force yourself to change in spite of needing motivation, then you will be able to achieve your goals. That's it from me today. I hope that you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments which of these things stood out to you, whether it was destination, determination, deliberation. And if you want to go deeper into this topic of not needing motivation and bypassing it, then I have some podcasts that you are going to really, really like, which I'm going to link in the description. I'll see you next week for another video. Okay.